environmental assessment, management and legislation. Aims and objectives of environmental impact assessment, or EIA. Predict environmental impact. Identify potential environmental effects of proposed projects before they are carried out. Mitigation strategies. Develop measures to mitigate adverse impacts on the environment. Decision-making tool. Provide information to decision-makers to make informed choices about project approvals. Public participation. Involve the community and stakeholders in the assessment process. Sustainable development. Ensure that development projects are environmentally sustainable and do not deplete resources. Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS, and Environmental Management Plan, also known as EMP, Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS, a document that provides a detailed analysis of the potential environmental impacts of a proposed project. It includes project description, baseline environmental conditions, assessment of potential impacts, mitigation measures, and alternatives to the proposed project. Environmental Management Plan, or EMP, a framework for managing and mitigating the environmental impacts identified in the EIS. It includes specific actions to mitigate impacts, monitoring and reporting mechanisms, roles and responsibilities, and emergency response plans. EIA guidelines. Screening. Determine if a project requires an EIA and its level of assessment. Scoping. Identify the key environmental issues and the scope of the EIA. Impact assessment. Predict and evaluate the potential environmental impacts. Mitigation. Develop measures to prevent, reduce, or compensate for adverse impacts. Reporting. Document the findings in an EIS. Review. Evaluate the EIS for completeness and accuracy. Decision-making. Use the EIS to inform project approvals or rejections. Monitoring and compliance. Ensure that mitigation measures are implemented and effective. Impact assessment methodologies. The checklist method is, well, a simple list of potential impacts to ensure all factors are considered. Then there's the matrix method. This method uses a two-dimensional matrix to assess the interaction between project activities and environmental components. Next up is the network method, which identifies and maps the cause and effect relationships between project activities and environmental impacts. We also have the overlay method, which uses maps to overlay project activities with environmental features to identify areas of impact. Finally, there are simulation models. These use computer models to simulate potential impacts and predict outcomes. Procedure for reviewing EIA of developmental projects. First, we have the preliminary review. This is the initial screening to ensure the environmental impact statement, or EIS, meets basic requirements. Following that is the detailed review, which is an in-depth analysis of the EIS focusing on key issues and potential impacts. Next, there's public consultation. This involves stakeholders and the public in the review process. After that, we move to decision-making. This step involves approval, rejection, or a request for additional information based on the review findings. Finally, there's monitoring and enforcement. This step ensures compliance with approved mitigation measures and conditions. Life cycle analysis and cost-benefit analysis. The life cycle analysis, or LCA, assesses the environmental impacts of a product or project from cradle to grave, which includes production, use, and disposal. On the other hand, the cost-benefit analysis, or CBA, evaluates the economic costs and benefits of a project, including environmental and social costs. Guidelines for environmental audit. Compliance audits. Assessing compliance with environmental regulations and standards. Performance audits. Evaluating the effectiveness of environmental management systems and practices. Management audits. Reviewing the adequacy of environmental policies and procedures. Environmental planning is a part of EIA and environmental audit, ensuring that environmental considerations are incorporated into the planning and decision-making process, using the audit results to improve environmental performance and management practices. Environmental Management System Standards, ISO 14000 series, specifies requirements for an effective environmental management system, provides general guidelines on principles, systems, and support techniques, principles and framework for life cycle assessment. EIA Notification 2006 and amendments. Regulatory framework for conducting EIAs in India, specifying the types of projects that require an EIA and the process to be followed. Periodic updates to the EIA notification to address emerging environmental concerns and improve the assessment process. Eco-labeling schemes promote environmentally friendly products by certifying those that meet specific environmental criteria. Examples include Energy Star, Blue Angel, and EU Eco-Label, encourages sustainable production and consumption, and informs consumers about the environmental impact of products.